So today's question of the day is, how do I file an actual use trademark application as an individual under the TS Plus application for my mobile application Word? We're going to show you guys how to actually go about from start to finish preparing and filing a TS Plus application. So this is going to be really, really useful content to all you app developers out there who maybe don't have a company or maybe just solo developers, but you want to protect the name of your app after you've released it. We're going to use the same word that Victoria came up with before, which was wheel-bound. So we're going to go ahead and the first thing that you need to do is you need to go to tsdr.uspto.gov. So I just threw up the link there for you guys. So when you go to TSDR, I'm going to actually start from scratch. That way you guys can see start to finish how you guys can actually do this on your own. So when you get to tsdr.uspto.gov, you're going to see an option that says File Online. So you're going to go ahead and click File Online, and then you're going to click Initial Application Forms. Now, when you scroll down, you're going to see an option, Start Your Application in TS. So you're going to go ahead and click that. Okay. Now we're going to do this for. Oh, by the way, I'm already logged in, guys. That's why it took me directly to this page. If you guys are doing this on your own and trying to follow along step by step, this is the one step where you're going to run into an issue, because if you're not already logged into your uspto.gov account, it's going to prompt you to log in. So I'm already logged in, which is why it took me directly to this page. So just keep that in mind. If you guys are doing this on your own, you're probably not going to end up directly here unless you're already logged into your uspto.gov account. But I logged in beforehand just to skip that step for you guys. But setting up and creating a uspto.gov account is very, very simple. So you guys aren't going to have any issues with that. Now, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to show you guys how to do the Plus application. Again, the Plus application is going to save you $50. So it's $225 instead of the normal $275. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to select TS Plus, and then again, I'm going to do it from the perspective of an individual today. In the future, I'll show you guys in future episodes how you can do it from the perspective of your company. But for now, I'm going to do it from the perspective of you as an individual person. So we're going to go ahead and click Continue. And then we're going to, for the owner of the mark, you're going to input your name. So I'm going to go ahead and put my name in here. And then I'm going to say that I'm an individual. And when I do that, it's going to prompt me to enter my citizenship. So I'm going to go ahead and enter my citizenship, United States. And then it's going to prompt me to input my address. Now, one thing I want to point out, don't be tempted to enter DBA unless you guys actually have a DBA. If you're not really registered as doing business as in your county, it's probably not a good idea to claim that you have a fictitious business name if you don't actually have one. So just keep that in mind. Again, so individual, and again, future videos, I'm going to show you guys how to do it for the LLC, but the same is going to apply for the corp, which is probably going to cover, I would probably guess, more than 95% of you guys. Now we have to input our mailing address. I'm going to go ahead and use my co-working space for the purposes of this video and input this information here. And again, postal code. And then again, this checkbox here, this is if you want to put in your actual home address, that's an option. One of the things that I wanted to point out, and I'll be discussing about later on during this video, is that all the information in the application is going to be public immediately, which is actually, for some of you guys, if you guys are public figures or are famous on social, you may not want people knowing exactly where your home domicile address is. So what you can do is you can check this box here and maintain the confidentiality of your home address. So this is an option just for you people out there that have some publicity and want to keep your home residence secret. Now, phone number, again, phone number and fax, these are optional. You don't have to input them. I prefer it, honestly, not inputting the phone number or fax, just because it's better, I think, to just keep your numbers off public listings. And importantly, the trademark office requires you to input your email address. So when you input your email address, that's going to be the means they're going to contact you by. So that's my basis for omitting my phone number and fax number. But again, they're actually going to warn you. So when I click continue, they're going to warn you and say, hey, you didn't input your phone number. But again, I'm going to opt to not input my phone number just to keep my numbers off the public databases. And that's one thing I've noticed. I think a lot of people kind of prefer not having this information out there. So this is the part now where we are actually going to input our mark. For the purposes of this video, our mobile application is called Wheelbound. So it's a mobile app for video editing. And then I'm going to go ahead and click continue. Now, this is the part where you select your goods and services. Now, one thing I want to point out, in the TS Plus application, you save 50 bucks, but you're very limited in what you can actually input. So you're actually limited to their canned description of goods and services. Once I get to here, I actually am only limited to what I can insert in here. So I'm going to type in mobile application, and you're going to see a bunch of options under class 9. We found a pretty good one earlier in an earlier episode. So I'm going to scroll down just so you guys can see. And also I'm going to zoom in. I think it's kind of hard for you guys to read. I'm going to scroll down. There's one that's particularly good. It's because it lets you input a lot of text yourself. And so I'm going to opt for that one. If we scroll down further and further and further, there's one that's very, very broad. This is it right here. Downloadable mobile applications for, and then it basically just lets you input what you want for the description. So I'm going to go ahead and select that description there. I'm going to click insert checked entries. Now, one really key thing, let me actually go back just to show you guys real quick. So what you guys are looking for in the TS Plus, if you guys are going to go over the TS Plus route, you want to look for these options here where you can actually input your own information. So anywhere where you see bold text that's within these curly braces right here, if you see that, that means that you're actually going to be able to input text in place of the text of those curly braces. So really, really good idea. If you guys are doing this yourself and you want to save the 50 bucks and you want to do the TS Plus, look for the options that give you the most latitude, your own personal information entry. In other words, the ones that let you input as much text as you want or can. So in this case, I happen to like this one a lot. So if we scroll up, you're going to see here once you click insert checked entries, it actually pulls it for you. And then it lets you input anything you want in here. So I'm going to go ahead and put mobile applications for editing and producing videos, or how about video content? There we go. So you have to click insert checked entries again. So once you do that, then it lets you, it actually moves forward to the next step. So you see here, mobile applications for editing, downloadable mobile applications for editing and producing video content. So again, now we're going to select our section that we're going to go under. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to do it for when you already release your mobile application and it's live. So that would be a section 1A because it's already downloadable. So in this hypothetical, granted, I'll be honest with you guys, this isn't a real downloadable page, but for the purpose of this hypothetical, I wanted to create a specimen that you guys could see. So what I'm going to say is this is a screenshot of a web page that allows users to to download the mobile application onto their phones. So I'm going to click back. Now, to attach a specimen, it needs to be a PDF or a JPEG. I tend to prefer PDFs. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the file. I obviously prepped this before the video, but if you guys want to, I can explain to you. Basically, all I did was I took a screenshot and then PDF'd it. So when I click attach, you're going to be able to see it. Here you go. So this is the specimen right here, and it's a PDF file. And when I go ahead and click and attach successfully, it uploaded successfully. So all I do now is click return to form. It's going to take me back to the form. Now, there's a few key things. You're going to have to input a description of the specimen. So again, they changed the rules on this recently. So for URL, so this is going to be a screenshot of a web page, and then you have to input the URL. So I'm going to go ahead and put our company email. Let's do .co and then wheelbound.html. How about that? And then you have to also say the date that you took the screenshot, or accessed actually. Accessed, and I'm gonna say I accessed it today, showing, so it's a screenshot of a website that's showing use of the mark in connection with the identified goods. So in this case, identified goods are mobile applications, downloadable mobile applications. Now, you have to also provide two very important dates. So the first date is the date of first use anywhere. So this could be the date that you first bought the domain. I'm just going to pick 1/6/2020 for the day that we bought the domain. And then date of first use in commerce would be the first date that consumers could actually download the mobile application. So I'm just going to make it for today. And then I'm going to click assign filing basis. So once I do that, I've basically done most of the heavy lifting in terms of what's required for this application. So again, we have here class 9, downloadable applications for editing and producing video content, and then I've already assigned it a filing basis under section 1A. Again, section 1A is an actual use application. It's for when you're already using your mark to provide or sell goods or services. So in this case, in our hypothetical, our mobile app is already released, so section 1A is appropriate. Now I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And I'm going to go ahead and input my docket number. I'm going to go ahead and start doing 05 for this series. And here, this is where you put in any teammate that you also want to receive correspondence. I highly encourage you guys to use this as a tool just to stay organized and on top of everything. In this case, I'm going to add my teammate Victoria because she's awesome and she helps me keep track and stay on top of everything. If you guys have other team members or teammates or people involved in trademarks, you should also include their email addresses here just so that you guys can make sure you guys stay organized and on top of everything. You can input up to 4. If you need to put in more, just add a semicolon and then just add the additional email addresses. So I'm going to go ahead and click continue. And now we're going to have to actually sign the application. So again, it's going to be $225 because this is a TEAS Plus, so it's a little cheaper than the standard. But we were slightly limited, and we could only use the canned descriptions provided by the TEAS standard by the TEAS Plus application. So just keep that in mind. For the declaration, there's a few statements here that we're going to have to declare. So one is that we understand that we're filing under an actual use application. To file under actual use, don't be confused. The lower section is if you're doing a Section 1B application, but they have this or here. So you're actually going to see the same option regardless of whether or not you do a Section 1A or a Section 1B application. It's actually the same declaration. So this confuses a lot of people. But anyways, this first section is going to apply to us. What they're basically getting at in this section. Now, if you do this by yourselves, by the way, I highly encourage you to read every single word in this application. I know it's a lot of text, but it's worth understanding exactly what you're getting into when you file these trademark applications, because you're making a statement that you're the owner of the trademark or service and that you're using the mark in commerce as of the dates that you stated earlier when you described the specimen. So it's very, very important. And also it's very important that all the statements that you make in this are truthful. Everything is fleshed out in the lower boxes, in the lower check boxes. But I just wanted to just reiterate that. So the second checkbox is saying that as far as you're aware, there's no other person or entity that's using a similarly looking mark for the same goods or services. So basically, this is just saying that as far as you know, you have a right to use this mark in commerce. Make this first declaration here that we're actually using the mark in commerce. The second declaration is saying that as far as we know, we have a right to use the mark. There isn't some other party that has been using the mark before us for the same goods and services. And then the third checkbox is saying that all the statements that we make in this application have factual support. And then the fourth checkbox is saying that we're signing under penalty of perjury. So any willfully false misstatements could subject us to fine or imprisonment. Once we understand all that heavy stuff, then we can go ahead and sign. Signing is really easy. All you have to do is put your name within slashes. Still, some people mess this up. They forget they don't put their name within slashes, and so they get some weird error. Just remember, you just need to //. So your name has to be within slashes. As long as it's within slashes, you're not going to get any issues on that. Date signature, it automatically autofills it for you. And then name, you just put your last name, comma, first name, followed by your initial. And then if you're a sole individual that's putting out this mobile application, then owner is probably the most appropriate for that particular situation. Some people like to put holder. So I've seen owner / holder or just holder. Either work. The point is that you're the owner of the mark and you're controlling the nature of the actual mobile application as it's put out on the market. So that is all we need. Your signatory's phone number is not required. I'm just going to keep my number off the application. Again, this is all going to be public. So my preference is to keep it off the record. So again, it's going to warn you. It's going to say, hey, your phone number is missing, but that's okay. It's still going to let me submit. This is the very, very last page. So this gives you one last opportunity to actually review the application before you submit. So I'm going to go ahead and click this input button and just review the application once more. Again, this is the wheel-bound mark, and we're not claiming font or style or size. This is my name. I'm going to be the owner, and this is our correspondence address. This is my email. This email is really, really, really important because this is the one mechanism they're going to have to contact me and to reach out and communicate with me. So make sure that's correct. Again, we're going under class 9, which covers downloadable or mobile applications that are in a recorded medium. So again, it's downloadable, and it's a downloadable mobile app in this particular case that allows you to edit and produce video content. And again, we're filing under Section 1A, which is also referred to as an actual use application. And these are two critical dates. The first is first use anywhere, and the second is first use in commerce. So I like to use for first use in commerce the date that you actually release the mobile application and make it publicly available and have at least one download. Now, you should have at least one download from at least one out-of-state user, but is my personal recommendation. But again, some people are more liberal or more conservative on that. But I think lawfully, in order to have interstate commerce, it's good to have at least one out-of-state user download your mobile application. The web page, and again, this is really important, guys. You're going to get a rejection if you don't put the actual URL where you can download it and the date that it was accessed. That's really important. If you don't have those two things, they're going to reject your specimen. So this is a new rule. It came up, I believe, February of 2020, so relatively new. But anytime a web page is provided as a specimen, they want to see the access, the URL and the access date. And again, this is actually all really good. I mean, it's about addressing fraud issues and trying to increase the integrity of applications. So, but it's another requirement though. So it's important to remember that you guys do that. Otherwise, you're going to get a rejection. These items here don't really apply to us for this particular application. And then this is our reference number. I like to use docket numbers, reference numbers. They help you stay organized. It's technically not required. For our practice, we have hundreds of cases, so we have to have docket numbers. Docket numbers are essential. Again, this is my email. This is my colleague's email, Victoria, who's going to help me stay on top of this and not let anything slip through the cracks. And again, it's 225, one class of goods. It's for each class, by the way. So if you guys add class, like if you guys have merch, if you guys want to push, you guys want to hustle hats and shirts, then that'd be class 25. That's fine. You can do it in the same application, but remember, you're going to have to pay another $25. That's right, $225. So just keep that in mind. So it's 225 times 2. Another big thing that people forget, each class also is going to incur additional maintenance costs in the long run. So, and also statement of use costs. So extensions of time. So any sort of filing that you have to do subsequently to maintain this dependency or the status of the registration, it's going to be a per class fee basis. So more classes, while they're good legally because it means that your brand is covering more channels of commerce, that's good, but you're going to incur additional maintenance costs. So just keep that in mind. That's something that I guess I haven't stressed as much, but I should be stressing more. So just keep that in mind. All right, and again, I'm the owner. For the purposes of this video, I am presuming that I am putting it out in my personal capacity. I'm putting the mobile app out there. So I'm going to go ahead and click back. The application looks good to me. Now I'm going to click on the mark real quick just to take another look at it. So again, the reason why I keep stressing and making sure that the mark is spelled correctly is that you can't change the spelling of the mark after you file. You have to submit a whole new trademark application. So if I went back to Victoria and I was like, hey, I filed on wheelbound, and she was like, no, we said wheel bounds, like plural, it would be out of luck. So this application would probably abandon it, have to file a whole new application. By the way, it's not just adding letters. It's also if like she's like, oh, wheel bound's 2 words, not 1, we'd have to file a whole new application to add the space in between wheel and bound. So don't make that mistake. We know a lot of people that have made that error. So just keep that in mind. And again, specimen, double check it, look at it again. Make sure you have that URL and the access date, 2 very important things. Everything looks good. Now, real quick, if by chance something did not look good and you thought, oh, hey, you know what? Actually, I need to fix something in the application. It's really, really easy to go back. Let's say I want to go back. All you do is click go back to modify, and you can actually step through every part of the application. And the beauty of it is that it actually saves all your information. So going backwards and forwards doesn't actually cost you any extra time. So you can literally go back to the very start of the application. It'll save your entire session, and then you can make any modification that you need to in any step of the application. And then when you go forward, it's just a click. It's a quick click through. So just keep that in mind. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and validate it. So again, I step back two steps. So I have to go back. I have to go forward 2 steps. But again, I'm back here. Now, a couple last things. So one thing is if I want to download the form, just click Save Form. It's going to download what's called a .obj file. The .obj file is a really good tool because it lets you save the application as a form that you can then upload in the future. So if I wanted to go back and talk to Victoria about the application before submitting, I could just save it as a form, talk to her about it, make any changes that we think are necessary. And then when I go back to file it, say tomorrow, I just literally upload the .obj file into the form, and it's going to essentially restore the entire session. So I don't have to input any new information. So they make it really, really easy. So just click Save Form. It's a .obj file. And then the very last thing is it just reminds you of 3 things. So the first is that there's no refunds. So like I said before, if you misspell it, have the wrong spaces in the wrong place, you're out of luck. So make sure, just double check you have the word mark spelled correctly. Second thing they remind you is that you have no right to confidentiality. In other words, anything that you put in this application is going to become public record. So really, really important. Keep that in mind. You're going to want to make sure that if you have a home address, but you actually want to keep that secret, that you do not put your home address in the application, because it's going to become public record. The third thing that I remind you of is that you're probably going to get some junk mail, unfortunately. So because everything is public, there's companies that actually mine the trademark database to see new filings, and they send these false, misleading notices to people, trying to shake them down for money they don't actually owe. So again, these are fake fees. If you get a letter like this that looks like this, just go on, just Google USPTO misleading notices, and you're probably more than likely, you're actually probably going to find the sender, the person that sent you the letter, in this list, because they do a really, really good job of keeping track of these misleading notices. Now, again, I'm going to go ahead and check this box. This means that I've understood 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm ready to go. So once I click submit, that's going to take me to a payment page. Where I can actually input my credit card information and pay, or debit card information. Once I'm here, I'm basically at the very end. It's just going to show me the total fees due, which is $225 in this particular case, and it's going to prompt me to input my credit card information. So if I click credit card, I can put my credit card information here, and then click submit payment. Once I submit, afterwards, it's going to actually let me download my application, and that application, what's called a filing receipt. So it has my filing date. In this case, if I had paid for it, I would have gotten the filing date of 10/5, so October 5th, 2020. And then it's also going to have a PDF that has everything that was submitted. It's all the information in my application. So it's also going to have a serial number. This serial number is really useful because if I go to tsdr.uspto.gov, I'll be able to check on the status of my application at any time. So if all I do is just go to tsdr.uspto.gov, I can use that serial number, input it in here, and click status, and it'll tell me exactly the status of my application. So they make it super, super easy for you guys to keep track of your cases. So again, you just literally go to tsdr.uspto.gov, input your serial number in here, and then click status, and that will bring up the status of your of your trademark application. You're also going to get an email. It's going to get everyone that's on that list, correspondence list, is going to get the email. So Victoria will get the email, I'll get the email, and it's going to have a copy of the application as well as that very, very useful serial number. So that is how you go about filing a trademark application on your mobile app name after you release your mobile application. So once you have it already available for download. Thank you so much for watching.